Welcome, everyone, to Metaphysics and Your Business. This is session 2, working with shields. Did you know that you can use energy shields to reinforce and promote your business? True story. Energy shields are for more than just protection. Like a martial artist, one must understand the attack forms in order to become a competent defender. Think of this class like the defense against the dark arts. You knew that I was going to drop a Harry Potter reference in there somewhere. Working with shields is a lot like learning the martial arts. When I was learning how to defend myself, I had to learn a number of different blocking styles to anticipate every kind of attack, whether it was out public, walking through a parking lot, hanging out in a bar with my girlfriends, or simply walking into my dark home. The first step is self-awareness. Not all people have the best intentions, so it's up to us to listen to our instincts and our intuition to help us determine the right course of action. If we're oblivious to what's going on around us, we're apt to get trapped with no way out. Cultivating your awareness and crafting strategies and tactics to address at each stage of elevation, meaning if you're caught unaware, you'll be able to assess the damage to mitigate further harm to you and your business. Believe me, I have wandered into too many snares myself. So thank goddess for my instincts and even Kai. Today, we're going to be working with Kai Bertrand, a Hawaiian kahuna shaman, on how you can blend both metaphysics and your business to reinforce, protect, and promote your business with energy shields. Today, you'll learn how to set your intentions and the significance and consequences for shielding yourself and your business. Who am I? I'm Lisa Stewart. I'm an intuitive business guide, designer, healer, speaker, and author. My mission is to inspire mystics to find the courage to co-create their magic, to grow their confidence and their income. As a professional designer by trade, I have always used my intuition to guide my life and business. Now I mentor mystics in their business, in their marketing, their website, design, services, and products. So if you're feeling stuck, uninspired, or just want to get started in your business, let's work together to conjure some magic. Okay, I want to welcome Kai Bertrand, a Hawaiian kahuna. Kai, tell us about you and tell us about how we're going to be working with shields today.
Okay, so about me, again, I'm a Hawaiian kahuna, which is the Hawaiian version of a shaman. I primarily work with energy, and my specialty is actually removing energy from people, places, and things, and that's normally negative energy. And I also have the ability to call in positive energy for different things. So today's topic is for metaphysics and business is shields for your business. In terms of metaphysics, we normally talk about shielding for yourself, your personal energy shield to make sure that you don't encounter negative energy or that you don't pick up energy that's not yours. And if you happen to be an empath, shields are like paramount to your survival because you end up having to hear and feel the thoughts and feelings of other people. But in this case, like I said, we're going to focus on the business. So in terms of shielding, it works the same. Like if you understand how to build a personal shield, you will do the same thing for your business, but you will do so with different intention because that's how shields are built, is through intention. So when we're looking at a business, what you would do is, depending upon the kind of business you have, because the best shield that you can have is one that you've customized for yourself, for your particular circumstances. So this is not a one size fits all kind of deal. Most of the time when I teach people how to shield, I tell them to use a white light shield. And if you don't know what that is, we can talk about that a little bit later. But in terms of business shielding, you can use like the standard white light shield, but it's actually to your benefit if you actually put a little bit more into that. And with businesses and with your personal shield as well, you can actually layer them. So you can have more than one shield, depending on what's happening, depending on your circumstances, your location, depending on the type of business you have. Because like I said, shields are going to be different versus if you have an online business where everything you do is virtual and an actual brick and mortar business. Completely different things. Your shields are going to function differently. You're going to have different intentions for them. And even the type of business you have in terms of whether you're product driven or service driven, completely different intentions and, different, it's going to function differently depending on what it is. So
super, Kai. Tell you what, I'm going to interrupt just for a moment.
Sure.
Thank you for just that brief introduction of what we're going to be doing tonight. What I wanted to do just quickly is kind of review what we did last week. So to start out the mini series Metaphysics and Your Business, session 1, it was essentially Energy 101. We talked about negative and positive energy. We talked about discerning energy, and then of course, developing a sensitivity to it. So do you want to speak just a little bit more about that, Kai, before we start getting into the nuts and bolts of shielding?
Sure. Because I mean, the reason why we covered energy first is to prep for this, because everything starts with energy. So if you understand the basics between positive energy, negative energy, and how it affects you, then you can understand how it also might affect your business. And therefore you can move on to the next step, which is now that you understand the concept of energy, now the next step is to protect yourself from negative energy, as well as setting up a shield to create an atmosphere of positive energy to attract what you do want.
And that's interesting, because you and I talked privately a number of weeks ago about this, and I was amazed. I knew about vibes, and I knew about, just trying to keep a positive attitude, trying to keep an upbeat attitude when it came to building my business. And, things come, things go. But, in the common man's terms, it's really about, for me, it was really to ground myself and make sure that one small hiccup didn't ruin my entire day. And I thought that was really the crux of it. But after talking with you, I'm like, holy smoke, there's so much more magic that we embed through the efforts of energy that I didn't realize. And for everyone here who has a little bit of awareness about energy, you're going to be amazed what you learned tonight. I'm ecstatic to share Kai with you tonight, and all the things that I learned about shielding products, services, brick and mortars, virtual businesses, all of that. This is absolutely fascinating. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to let Kai move on.
Okay, so we talked about the general white light shield. For those of you who don't know what that is, I'm just going to do a quick rundown through it. And basically the way you create a white light shield is you actually see white light coming down from the universe and covering yourself, your body from head to toe, all the way around. And, it's like seeing yourself inside an eggshell. The intention when you build it, or part of the intention when you do this, is you think to yourself, I want, all negative things to be pushed away by it. And I want positive energy to be able to permeate, to come in. It's inside, it's always comfortable, it's always warm, it always feels good. And it's flexible, meaning it goes with me wherever I go, however I move. And the other thing is that it gets thicker or thinner on its own, depending on whatever I need it to do. Then that way, you don't have to think about it. So if you happen to walk into a situation where there's a lot of negative energy, the shield will automatically adjust to protect you to the level that you need, energetically speaking. Okay, so that is a general white light shield that I teach to everybody. Now so that's how you protect yourself in general. Now what we're gonna do is we can take that general white light shield and we can extend that out to your business, to your property, to your business assets, to your car, your house, your whatever. Okay, and so you would actually do that for each thing. So say for instance, if you live in a neighborhood that the cars keep getting stolen, You can actually put a shield on your car so that, when the next time the thieves come rolling through, that they don't pay attention to your car. That's a different kind of shield, but there's a way to do it so that you can make your car less attractive, energetically speaking, so that the likelihood of your car getting stolen will actually decrease. And that is true for like anything you own. If you want to protect your house, say you've got like this really horrible neighbor that throws horrible parties or whatever, and they generate a lot of negative energy. You don't want that energy moving into your house, right? So you put up a shield so that they keep all their stuff over there. So that's the kinds of things that you can do with it. And at the same time, when you create a shield, whatever's inside, you create that atmosphere. So for instance, if you have a business, say like you have a bakery, right? You want people to walk in and feel like they walked into like their favorite grandma's house, like the quintessential grandma's house with all the cookie smell, the cake and whatever, right? You want that. And that they want to take that stuff home. And all that can be built into the shield so that the inside is like that. So you can do that with your online business as well. So that as soon as they hit your website, they get that energy of welcome in. I have what you need, and you can get anything you want here for the right price. And that feel free to come back. It's a welcoming feeling. You can create all that with a shield. Okay. So, and that's part of projecting, because it's not just keeping stuff out, it's also attracting things such as the right customer, the perfect customer, the perfect employees, the best partners, whatever it is, you can actually incorporate that into the shields that you build. So for instance, if your business is at a point where it's ready to grow and you need a partner, you can actually put a shield on your business and say, you know what? I want to attract the perfect partner to help this business grow. And it will start to project that energy out to actually draw people to you that could be like, then you'd have to go through and, make sure you check your boxes about, who's good or whatever. But, do your due diligence on everything. But it will start attracting people to you. Whereas before you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know anybody. Well, you don't have to, because the shield will actually draw them to you. The universe will help you and draw things to you.
And that's what I found so fascinating when I was talking with you about this early on. And that is, it's one thing to design a logo and the right name that's going to deliver the promise to your customer. But it's another thing to use it as a sigil, as a beacon. And we know that logos are beacons, but to infuse that with energy, I found fascinating. And there's another point that you made as well. And that was attracting customers and partners and letting the shield essentially do a lot of the work for you. When I talk about intuition, I talk about how we start when we are designing something, or let's say we're designing our strategy, maybe our SWOT analysis for our business, and we gather all the facts, but then we're missing a major component, which is intuition. And for me, when we are collecting all the elements for the SWOT analysis, SWOT, for anybody who doesn't know, it's SWOT. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's part of building your business plan. When you gather all that information up, that's only part of the story. You still have some ambiguity in there. And to use your intuition and your energy shields with the protection and the projection, both is going to add the color and dimension to those facts. And so I was over the moon when I heard you start talking about that. So that's why I'm so excited that we're here tonight. So please keep going.
Yeah, I mean, because it's important to, and I've told other people this, I said, you can look at something on paper and numbers look great, right? Have everything lined up. And then you meet the person and you're like, nope. And you don't know why. That's your intuition speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you use an energy shield, actually that will eliminate a lot of that, because they will already be resonating with the energy of the shield that you put out, that this is the kind of person that I'm looking for. So the energy that you're looking for will be attracted by that shield. So your intuition, whoever you do attract, would actually have a harder job then, because you might have two people that resonates with you, and then you'll need to like work really hard to figure out who is better.
That's when you tap in the spirit guides and the angels, right?
Yeah, or your pendulum, whatever works. But
yeah,
but it will eliminate a lot of stress, because it will automatically bring you people who resonate with the level of energy that you're looking for your business, whatever that happens to be. If it's a partner, if it's an employee, if it's somebody to just clean your office, whatever it is.
Yeah, that sounds like quite the stress saver too.
Yeah. I mean, because once you put it out there and you establish that this is what you want, and then, but of course, be careful what you ask for. Make sure that it is exactly what you want.
Right.
I would say, like, don't put too fine a point on it, because then you start excluding things that you don't realize is actually good for you.
Right.
But, just think about, put it more in terms of, if this person were working with me, what would it feel like to be here? That's the feeling that you want to put in, because that's the feeling that will attract the person that you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think this is a really good time to remind everybody that if you don't have your values identified, and then a few of those values can turn into pillars for your business, and those pillars then help you create and make decisions, make the right decisions for everything that you want to attract in your business, build your business, the foundation of your business. Because sometimes you might have, shiny object syndrome. I don't know who doesn't, right? Bring it back. And does it align with one of your pillars? Then, okay, great. That's fantastic. And then also imbuing the energy on top of that to make sure that is harmonious as well.
Right. Okay, so let's just touch on a little bit about, because I said that you could layer your shields. Okay. So let's just take the instance of like a car. And, you've already put the white light shield on it. So it has general protection, that will help cut down on the incidence of accidents, and, that kind of stuff. But again, you live in you're visiting a friend who lives in a not so great neighborhood, and there's a possibility that your bike could get stolen. What you would do then is, you already have the white light shield on it, but then you could also put another shield on it that helps protect it so that it cannot be seen. And what I do is I actually create a shield that is literally camouflage, so that it can't be seen.
Wow.
That it blends into, so energetically speaking, it's blending into whatever's there. So, so I have literally had people walk by things that I've camouflaged, energetically speaking, even though it was right there, right in front of their face. They've walked right by it, but people just kind of like energetically, they just glanced right past it. So
it's fascinating.
So working with shields allows you to layer them depending on what you need. So if you need, like, if you have a business where things tend to get a little loud inside, you can actually fill the room with the energy of something that dampens sound without physically having something that dampens sound. So for instance, if you're having an event and it's going to get a little loud, like you're going to have a drum circle or something, right? People are going to have a great time, but you don't really want all that noise going to the neighbors. So you surround the entire area with a shield that actually dampens sound. It kind of contains it. Wow. And it will actually, I've actually had things go down just a little bit. So you can do all kinds of things with shields as long as you set the intention correctly.
Yeah.
And and part of this whole thing, actually this entire thing, is based upon your ability to believe that it happens. So I did this experiment last week. I built a shield because it was a different kind of shield that I had never built before. And I was like, okay, let's just try it. So I built a shield. My friend was with me, and I said, okay, let's just make sure it's actually there. And I literally put my hand through the edge of it, and I could actually feel the barrier.
Wow.
The shield was.
Wow.
And so when you get to the point where you are building really strong, sophisticated shields, you can actually feel the energy of them.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It reminds me of the barrier that you and I walked through at the Meeker Mansion down there in Puyallup. And when we were descending the stairs from the second floor to the first floor, and it was about the fourth or fifth step, I could feel a barrier. And I'm like, oh my God, am I really feeling what I'm feeling? And you're like, yeah. So that's amazing. So was it as thick as that? Can you say?
No, it wasn't as thick as what we saw at Maker, but the fact that it was actually there, I was kind of surprised. I mean, because I can feel my shields when they're on, but I didn't, because I actually had built this one much bigger than I normally do inside. I was just like, let's just play with it a little bit, and yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
And I got my other friend was just like, oh my gosh, I actually feel that. And I told this other friend of mine, I was like, come on over. Guess what I did? I built this. And she was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And she like literally stopped right in front of it. She was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, yes.
Oh, I can't wait to be that good. That's fantastic. Okay.
So, that's the thing about shields. It's like, it's one of those fun things that you can play with, and you can start small. You can start on, you could start on your mug or something. Like, you can just take a standard little mug, you can put a shield on it and see if you can actually feel it. And then take the shield off and then try it again and change it up a little bit and see if you can actually feel the subtleties and differences in the shields that you've built. Because it takes practice. It takes practice. But once you decide that you're going to do it, then you can go bigger and you can actually do your business, whether it's a brick and mortar or an online. And then at that point, once you build the outside, then you feel the energy with the atmosphere that you're looking at. And, but keep in mind with all this is that, fate has her own plans. So, you can protect as much as you want to, but whatever is supposed to happen, just like whoever showed up here was supposed to be here, it's going to be what it's going to be. You can't prevent disasters, because there's a lesson there somewhere that the universe wanted you to learn, and that's just how it's going to work. But for the most part, if you want to work from a preventative position, shields are a fantastic way to do it. And they're easy because once you set it up, you don't actually have to think about it anymore unless you want to. And then you can reinforce it, or you can change it, you can alter it. So for instance, if you build the shield and you're like, oh, I really should have put that into it too, you can go ahead and modify it at any time. That's what's nice about it. It's flexible. There's nothing written in stone about it. You can change it up anytime you want.
So I have a question. How long do they last?
It depends, because if it gets a lot of usage, like if it takes a lot of damage, like anything, it's gonna, energy doesn't last forever. So sometimes it needs to be reinforced or rebuilt depending on your circumstances. So if you're in an area like if you're in like a high crime area kind of deal, your shield's going to take a lot of beating, from the energy that's just generally there. But if you're in a nice place, the general energy of the area is good, you probably won't have to touch it for a while. But instinctively, you'll know. That's the thing. Once you start building shields, you become attuned to them, and you know when you need to beef up your shields again.
Gotcha. Okay. I was going to ask a new question, like, if I've got a bike in a high crime area, should I reinforce the shield once a day or once a week? But I guess it's really a matter of making sure that if I'm placing the shield on there, I know what it feels like, and I know when it's been taking a few hits.
Yeah, because you'll feel it. Like you'll like walk up to it and you'll feel like the energy of it feels funny. And you're like, yeah, I think I need to redo this.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, if you're in a high crime area with a bike, like put it inside, like,
Well, we did once. We did once, and they took blowtorches and pried that door open and stole my husband's bike. They tried to steal my bike, but they just kind of like pulled the basket off, and I'm like, oh. But yeah,
that's some determination right there.
It really was. Yeah, they caught the guys on camera actually with a blowtorch, getting into the gate of the apartment complex, and then of course into the actual bike room. Just, yeah, craziness. But okay, so we talked about protecting, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about protecting yourself, your property, your business assets. You also mentioned complex shields, like the lights, the darks, the tones, and the materials. Can we cover that a little bit?
Yeah, and that's what I was starting to get into with the layering, because you can actually, change things up in terms of, you can use a white light shield. You can make it out of gold if you want to. You can make it a mirrored shield if you want to. You can, if you want to, you can make it out of steel. You can make it out of iron. You can make it out of anything you want to. So for instance, if you need something that's, I talked earlier about something soundproof, you could actually make a shield out of the energy of really thick pillows if you want to. It's like the imagination is, you can go crazy, whatever you think would work. And what's good about it is you can try different things. Mm-hmm. So say, for instance, you're trying to like energetically soundproof a room or something. Like, okay, let's try the pillows. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try the energy of, audio foam, the stuff that they actually use. Let's try that. Let's see if we can pull up the energy of that. Mm-hmm. And that's what's good about this, is like, even if you don't have any of that stuff on hand, mm-hmm. like you don't actually have to have like a sheet of steel to be able to pull the energy of steel to make your shield.
That's fascinating, because my neighbors are constantly slamming their doors. So I'm going to try the pillow and the foam for the apartment door, just to see that when the slamming goes on, apply that to see if the decibel level goes down. Because that would be fascinating. I will report back.
Yeah, anything. It's like you can, whatever you can imagine. And if you want to even do some like Google research or something on like what people use in building materials to provide like 100% insulation from sound, mm-hmm. and then pull the energy of that and see if you can create the shield with that.
Oh, neat. Okay.
If you can do that.
Okay. Right? That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, you can have, like I said, you can do camouflage. You can actually make it so that it absorbs light, so it looks like there's nothing there. You can, again, you can make it look like it's actually reflecting something else. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with it. And again, different kinds of materials. So for instance, if it's next to a tree, you can actually cover it with the energy of that tree. Make like it's not there at all. I mean, there's so many things that you could do. And it's just up to you, like what you want to try, and just see what works for you. Because in different circumstances, different things will work. If it's a really skinny tree, it might not work, right? If it's a really thick tree, then, your chances are better. So it just depends on your circumstances, but don't limit yourself to, it has to just be the white light shield, because it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It can be any color of light if you want to. So if you have a proclivity for green light or something, you can build a shield out of green light, or you can actually have a multi-layer shield on yourself, which is a white light shield for general protection, a green shield for healing, a pink shield to attract universal love, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. You can even, because the aura is actually, has the colors of that correspond with each of the chakras. So if you want to, you can actually have a shield on each layer of your chakra if you wanted to be that that pointed.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessary in my opinion, but I mean, like, if you feel like there's a reason for it and you want to protect a particular chakra for some particular reason, you do that by layering within the layers of the aura if you wanted to.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so camouflaging, you talked about how you could camouflage with black light and absorb everything, or you could hide it. Let's talk about how we can start applying that to our virtual businesses versus brick and mortar business. We'll start large and then we'll get smaller with services and products and things.
Sure. So if you have an online business, what you would do is you would actually see your business as almost as if it were a brick and mortar. Like, like, here's my business, see it in front of you, and then you actually create your shield on your business. And knowing that when you create your business, that it covers everything regarding your business. So it would be, not just the physical business, but the website, everybody who is associated with it at the same time. So if you've got somebody working on your website, if you have your accountant, whatever it is that's associated with your business would also be covered by the shield in relation to your business. And what you would do with that is, again, if we just use the standard white light shield as an example, then that would actually help protect your interest in terms of, like, from your website. That would discourage hackers and bots, competition, negative energy being directed at it. It would actually help with, your accountant not making mistakes when they're doing your books. It could help with, your suppliers actually getting your stuff to you on time. It could, all of these things that are encompassed to the business, everything that affects the business gets the benefit of that shield, gets the benefit of that energy, right? And why are we doing this? Because we are projecting trust. We're attracting the perfect customer. We're attracting prosperity. We're attracting our suppliers remember us so that they get our stuff to us on time. This is the energy that we're setting for our business so that we continue to be in business and that we continue to love our business.
Right. Right. No, and I think that it goes back to what you said earlier about when you're shielding a bike or a car or any of your personal property, that over time it takes hits. It could take daily hits, it could take weekly hits. And I think the same goes for your business. Let it be your website, let it be your brick and mortar, and all of those things that are just reinforcing everything that you're sharing here today. And I find that absolutely fascinating, because not only are we trying to attract the perfect customer, but we're also reinforcing that we're trying to attract that customer, reinforcing the confidence that we're instilling in our customers, the assurances and the promises that we're making.
Yeah, I mean, because, ultimately we want them coming back over and over and telling their friends that they've had, like, an amazing experience. And that goes into, the energy of the place. The welcome that they get every time they come to your site. And the thing is, people think that because it is an electronic site, that it doesn't have energy, that it doesn't project anything. It's not true.
Right.
Absolutely not true.
Right.
Because you've been to a bunch of websites and you've seen things and you're like, yeah, I don't think I want to have anything to do with these people. It just doesn't feel right. And then you've gone to other places and you're like, oh my gosh, this place is amazing. I don't know anything, but I love it. Right? And it's because that they have managed to project that energy to you through their website. And sometimes it has to do with, like, their color scheme and, where they put everything. I mean, that's psychological, but I mean, just the energy of it, like how it feels. As soon as they hit your homepage and they get that feeling, they're in. That allows them to go, oh, wait, maybe I'll check here. I'll click here. I'll check that. Oh, wait, you have something I actually need.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that really speaks to, from a mundane perspective that speaks to the usability of it, the architecture and navigation, and how easy is it really to do business with you? And, you know, to constantly test the energy of that, and to test the mundane aspects of that as well, and getting people to help you do that, to kind of verify and validate that you're setting the right intention.
Yeah. And then, you know, the same thing when you're doing the same thing for your brick and mortar, what you would do is, in order to set a shield for your physical business, you would actually go to your physical business, and you would, you know, you would do this from inside the business and see a shield being created on the outside of your business. What I normally do when I'm protecting a space is I will actually go beyond the borders of the business. So say, for instance, even if you're like in a strip mall or something and you share 3 walls with other people, I actually extend the shield out into the other businesses, probably about a foot and a half, just so that it covers everything. And when you create a shield on a physical building, make sure you go under as well as above. So all the way around.
Good point. Good point.
And then again, it's the same thing. You create your shield with your energy that you're attracting people. And, you know, the thing is, like, having your shield, some people think, well, you know, that's an impingement on space, blah, blah, blah. But really, they're not going to notice it's there, and will actually help make you all better neighbors, because then they will understand the energy of what's coming to your business. And if, as long as it's positive and it's for everyone's highest good, see, that's the key right there. It's like, you know, you got to make sure that everything includes the highest good for everyone concerned. Right. It shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Actually, especially if they're having problems, it might actually help them.
Right. Exactly. And I was going to mention about the foot traffic. It's like, it might also then spur curiosity, because a lot of times, I don't know how many times I've been to a strip mall or any other like historic district where I see a shop and I'm like, oh, I need to go in there because something about the energy resonates. Like, oh, I need to go in there, and I'm pushing through people, you know, excuse me, I'm going in. But I could just completely ignore the shop next to it, not knowing why. But it's kind of like, I'm a curious person, so I'd like to know a little bit about everything. And if I'm not curious about the shop next door, something's wrong.
Yeah, it's because you've already read the energy, and it's like, nope, not happening.
Nope.
And, you know, if you have a brick and mortar, you don't want that. You want people to be like, oh, let me in, right?
Yeah.
So that's what a shield can do. It's like, you build a shield and it will encourage people to not only come in, but come back and bring their friends with them.
Right.
And, you know, so for a brick and mortar, what we're protecting from would be like theft, competition, negative energy being directed at it, and copycats.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I certainly, God, I wish I had met you 12 years ago. I could have certainly used all of that help for my brick and mortar. That's for sure. Because I had all of that, and it's like, where is this coming from? So, yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, in projecting as part of, you know, when you build a show, what you want is, you know, you want a compelling point of view. You want people to just like literally stop their car, park, and walk in. You know, that they're so drawn to you that they have to come. Yeah. Even if they don't buy anything, you just want them to be there.
Yeah.
You know, that, and you have that uniqueness that you're fulfilling, you know, whatever they need. You're solving their problem. You have that thing, whatever it is that they've been looking for forever and couldn't find anywhere, and you have it. And oh my gosh, look at this place. Isn't it amazing? On top of that, is there something else in here I could buy?
Right. And I had a mix of that with my brick and mortar. So it's good that you said that, because I do recall a few people stopping and going, I had to come in here. I don't know why. And I'm like, well, welcome. And I felt like it was the shop for the people who were also curious. And I think that was really the intention that I set, was because everything was handcrafted, and also we were getting into steampunk, you know, it was really starting to generate that wonderful fantasy how can I transform the customer as he or they are walking in? And I did that intentionally through, the boards that I laid on the floor, the deep red paint that I applied to the walls, the black ceiling that we installed, and the furniture that we selected, it would either be IKEA black brown furniture, or it would be some antiques that we brought in. And of course the music and the scent of all of that. So that atmosphere really, I think, was a foundational piece for the brick and mortar. But had I known to layer that in with more intentional energy, I think we probably would have had a different experience.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, now that you can actually advise people on all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, and right now, people are in the process of waking up. So their intuition is, people are actually starting to listen to it. And so you use energy in a way that speaks to their intuition, that tells them, hey, this is a welcoming place. You're safe here. It's, you're welcome to come in and just be yourself. People love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's talk about products and services.
Okay. So the one more thing about the brick and mortar, the other thing that we're looking at is when you set up a shield, when you have a physical location, the other thing that you do is you cause people who are disruptive, who have disruptive energy, people, events, and things like that, tend to not want to be anywhere near your business, which is perfect.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So it actually, attracts the people that you want and discourages energetically people that you don't want to come in. So, but again, that has to be part of your shield, is that, if you are not going to find anything here and you're not interested in stuff here, find a nice way to say it, figure out what your, form your intention in a positive way.
Right.
So that, you keep disruptions at a minimum. And, and of course, while you're doing that, include, so if you're in a really old building, just be like, if the plumbing is going to go, let me know ahead of time, kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I can save inventory myself. Yeah.
Right. So, just, you work things in depending on your circumstances, but, just keep all that stuff in mind when you're looking at a physical location. All right. So products and services.
Oh, wait, let's go back a sec.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that previously we talked about fate, and sometimes she can be a bitch, right? So when we are shielding our businesses, so let's say we're anticipating a riot, right? And we want to shield our business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for something like that, I would pull out all the stops. I would definitely multi-layer on that. So I would do the white light shield for protection. I would actually do a shield of steel. I would put a, especially over the windows, I would definitely make a super thick camouflage. And I might actually put a shield on the outside that is literally just an energy of deterrent. That says, nope, don't want to come here. Nope. Like literally one that causes people to step away from. Literally repellent is what I would do in a situation like that. I mean, that's not something that I would do obviously on a permanent basis, but if it was an emergency situation like that, the stuff that happened in Seattle and around town when all the stuff went crazy, I would have done, I would have just put a shield up over the entire business all the way around, cover the top, cover the, the ground, and just say, okay, just make it so that it's so unappealing. You don't ever want to, the energy of it is just so icky. The outside of it that you don't want to get anywhere near it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great advice. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Kai. Yep. All right.
Okay. Products. Yeah. So this is where we have the protecting from the theft, the competition, negative energy, and the copycats. So if you have stuff that if you hand make things, you know, eventually you're going to have somebody who's going to want to copy what you do. It's just a matter of time.
All the time. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously it's not something that can be prevented all the time, but you can put shields on your products and to sort of discourage that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it would be encourage appreciation, not copying,
right,
kind of thing. And, you know, again, what are we projecting? You know, it's unique, you know, and again, you're fulfilling their needs, solving a problems,
right.
giving them something different, something unique to have, to hold.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to speak to the mundane aspect of that when it comes to differentiating who your customer is. So for instance, when makers attract customers, sometimes other makers can be a customer, and sometimes makers come in going, oh, how did they make that? Let's figure that out. I've had makers come into my shop, and I kid you not, one guy was shoving his hand, it was a little bag that I had, he was shoving his hand in the bag, and I'm like, are you looking for China? What do you hope to find in the bottom of this tiny little bag? And my husband and I were just sitting there looking at him like, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And the guy looked at us like, oh. And I'm like, no, really, what is it you're trying to gauge? And he didn't say anything. And then I had another woman come in who was picking apart the seams, trying to figure out how in the world we stitched the bag. And I'm like, I can't tell you. That's happened so many times. It made me feel like somebody was going through my underwear drawer. And I'm like, stop it. Oh my God. It turned me inside out. It just left me cold. I'm like, you know, why don't you just keep walking? You don't need to be here, because if you're getting your hands on my bags and you're trying to rip them apart, I can no longer sell that bag. So cash your credit. So
not only that, it's like when people come in, they leave that energy on that object, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
You know, so the likelihood that that's ever going to sell is like,
yeah. And the other point that I wanted to make, however, is that as a maker, and I don't know how many people here are makers, but because this is recorded and I'm going to put it on the YouTube channel, anybody who's listening after the fact and you're a maker, the most important thing is to remember that you want to talk about the value that your product brings to your customers. Your customers, by and large, do not care how you make that product. They don't care how the sausage is made. They just want to know it's delicious. Now, you can say, I use special ingredients and we pet our pigs and that kind of thing, but you don't have to go in and say, here's our ingredients, here's our list, and this is exactly how we make it. They don't care. They don't care. They want to buy the sausage. They want to take it home. They want to have it for breakfast. Same thing with, a beautiful product that you don't eat, right? It's how is it going to serve you? Is it going to travel well? Is it going to serve its function at a black tie event? Or, when you hang it up in the wall of your house, is it going to give you those feelings that you're looking for? Is it going to meet those needs? That's what you need to speak to. You don't speak about how the sausage is made. They don't care.
Yeah. Well, I had a coworker that I worked with years ago. One of his favorite phrases that he used to always say is, what's in it for me?
Yep, exactly. And when you start from that, then you realize that when you do start getting into how it's made, their eyes start glazing over. They're like, here, just take my credit card, let's go. There are other customers, however, who'll go, I am interested, but at that point, still keep it high level. But yeah, always turn it back to the customer and say, and this is going to benefit you, and here's why. This is going to benefit you, here's why. This is the feature, this is why we added the feature, here's why. Not how we made the feature, but why it's going to work for you. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all about like solving pain points.
Exactly.
Okay, so same thing for your services, whether it's a public thing, a private thing, or events. When you're like, for instance, when I teach classes, like physical classes, I actually put up a shield so that whatever negative energy might be attached to or came with a person stays
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that whatever we do energy wise, because I teach energy classes,
Yeah.
if we happen to attract anything that's negative, it also stays outside. Anything positive can come in and have a great time with us. And so
It's
I suggest you do the same thing for your event. So if you're having like an outdoor event, even if it's, you know, like in a park or something like that, you can still kind of wherever, you know, set your parameters and put up a shield so that, you know, everybody inside has a good time. And, you know, whatever, you know, if you got to compensate for noise or, you know, just filling the space with as much love and comfort and whatever it is you want them to have at this event.
Yeah.
within the shield.
Yeah.
And you know that increases the chances of success for your event, and therefore your attendance of the events that you have in the future will get bigger.
Right. Right. And the only reason I was cracking up at the beginning is because I was imagining all of the negative energy hanging out like smokers and talking about waiting for their owners to come back through the door and going, okay, yep, I'm the ride, you know, it's time to go. I just suddenly I saw this meme of, you know, them out there, you know, yeah, sorry. I drove off the deep end on that one.
Yeah, a little
Wait,
bit.
yeah. So let's talk about the container inside. So I'm no longer a distraction. So let's talk about setting that container inside, just to reinforce what it is you were trying to share as I was too busy laughing.
Yeah, no, so it would be, you know, for instance, if you had like some sort of like a grand opening or something like that, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to open my shop. It's going to be great. I invited a bunch of people. I got the food, all that stuff. And well, actually what I would say is when you start planning it, something like that, when you start planning events, that you start putting the energy into it. Like I'm already attracting the perfect customer. I have my shield up around this. So think of it as, here's the event. And we already have, you know, we have the perfect caterer, we have the perfect flowers, whatever your event is. We have, you know, like we found the best band, even if you haven't found anybody yet. Like you put that into a shield surrounding the concept of whatever it is that you're planning. And then again, the universe will help you find the people that you need to create this atmosphere that you have set the tone for.
That's exciting. And I'll tell you why. Because it reminded me of my moon phase planner, where I show people how to start with the new moon. And as they're building their event on the major and minor phases of the moon phases, you just indicated that we can set containers for each of those parcels. So for each moon phase. So in the beginning, right, when I'm planning, okay, I think I'd like to have an event. What kind of event do I want to have? Let's say on the full moon. And then on the yin cycle of that, we start to kind of generate and start to imagine. And each of those major and minor phases, I can set energy intentions with all of those for that leading up to that event. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yep. And then when the event actually, like when you've got everything planned and everything is, you know, manifesting, then you set another one that says, this is what the event is going to be like when it's actually live. And, you know, and then there's another shield to do your thing. The other thing to note is when you build shields, especially ones that you're putting up for temporary purposes, what I like to do is I always incorporate the intention that the shield will stay up for as long as it needs to. And if there's any excess energy left over from the shield, that it's automatically given to the earth.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
All right.
Wow.
So yeah.
Fantastic. So we covered shields for yourself, your person, your own property. We covered your online business, your brick and mortar business. We covered products. and services. Can you talk a little bit about services before we open it up for questions?
Yeah, it's like I would say, like, if you have a service type thing, again, it's you set an intention that you're attracting the perfect customer. You're attracting people who actually need what you offer, and that they'll be happy with what you offer. And if you have your own, if you hire people, that you will find the perfect people to do what you need them to do, that they will love their jobs, and that kind of thing. So it's a shield that allows everybody to get what they need out of it. So you get the customers who come to you, they get what they need, you get their money, and your employees get an atmosphere that they want to work in with the people that they want to work with and the person they want to work for.
Right. No, that's all really great tips. And I think as you were talking, I was also thinking about the solopreneurs, right? The folks who do one-on-one consulting. So setting the container and the energy of that container in each specific event. So setting that container for actually setting up a discovery call, and then setting up the appointment, and then setting up the actual one-on-one moments, the hour consultation you're having with your customer, and then making sure that your customer is deriving everything that they need from that consultation. And then the after sale, right? The after event. How are they feeling after the event? And then are they going to come back, setting that energetic intention to come back to you, and then also refer their friends and colleagues to you.
And the thing is, like, when you're doing these things, if you're doing like these little mini things, you can actually do them all at once. So while you're like, thinking about, okay, this is a client that I want, like, okay, so this is my intention for this part of it. This is my intention for this. And then just kind of let it do its thing. So it's not like every time the phone rings, you have to like, okay, here's another shield for this, and here's another shield for that. You don't have to do any of that. Just like, have a general rundown of what you want to do, set your intentions, build your shields, and, set your energy for all that stuff, and then just let it do its thing.
That's fantastic. Set it and forget it. Rompopil. There we are. Yeah. We've got energy in jars. So come pick out yours, and, we'll ship today. Drop shipping available. Call your nearest operator. Yeah, I haven't watched too many infomercials growing up, have I? Okay. Anything else before we open this up for questions? Kai, did you want to?
No, I think we pretty much covered what we planned to. I'm ready for questions.
All right, fantastic. I am going to tell you what. I believe everyone knows how to raise their hand at the bottom of the Zoom panel. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and I will call you on down like Bob Barker. And don't forget to spay and neuter your pets. Anybody have any questions?
On anything, don't be shy. Go for it.
Right. Okay, Robin. Robin, go ahead and unmute. All right, step on down, Robin. What's your question?
So thank you. I just want to say thank you guys for having this event and for your great content, and everybody for being here. So I'm interested, I have several questions, so I can go in rotation so I don't monopolize everything. But the first question that occurred to me is, if you could speak a little bit more about what powers the shield. So I've heard some people say, well, you should use your own energy, or you shouldn't use your own energy because then you're going to exhaust yourself. And then there's the Reiki, like I'm just a channel for the energy. Like, where does this power come from? And is there any danger of like having too many shields going, or somehow depleting your energetic core by not specifying what the battery is, so to speak?
Yeah, from a metaphysical point of view, you never use your own energy, ever, for anything. Because you will exhaust yourself, you will make yourself sick. You never use your own energy. So what you're using is universal energy. So yeah, some people consider it Reiki, others just call it just universal love energy. However you perceive that, it's energy that is not yours, that is of the highest vibration and for the highest good. And no, you can't exhaust yourself doing that. And you actually won't hurt yourself in terms of layering up the shields, as long as you're careful about what you make your stuff out of. And again, if you start to feel like there's a problem and if it's not functioning correctly, that usually means that the intention was not set correctly, meaning your intention was not clear. And so at that point, you could just scrap it and just say you just want to tear the whole thing down and start again.
Fascinating. Okay. Anyone else have questions? Travis, Kathy, Jamie, Sarah? Travis, you got a question? Kathy, you got a question. All right. Go ahead, Kathy. All right, let's try it again.
There you go.
Sorry. I hit the
problem.
wrong button.
Trigger finger.
Not a question. Just shut the front door. Holy cow. I'm glad I came tonight.
Awesome.
So you guys just go ahead and ask as many questions as you want. I'm like, what?
We're glad to have you, Kathy. Thanks for coming.
I was like, shut the front door. And I'm like, because we were just talking at the beginning of the hour about me putting up some kind of energy foam in my front door. And I'm like, but my door is closed, Kathy. What are you talking about? Oh, all right. All right. Euphemism. I got you. I got you. Travis.
Hi, everybody. Well, it's so good to see all of you. And
So
Kathy,
good to have you.
hi, it's been such a minute, and it's been a minute. And Lisa and Kai, thank you both so much for hosting this. This was beautiful. New concept for me. I did not realize you could use shields to attract, and I think that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Let me ask, Lisa, Kai, anybody, do you have any type of like practice or state you like to be in before setting the shield, right? Like obviously if we're kind of like in an icky mood, we don't want to go like just go, moving energy left and right? But like, do you like to meditate before or take a couple of breaths, or do you just kind of just go at it in whatever state you're in? I'm curious.
Me personally, I have the ability, because I've been doing this a really long time. I mean, I've been involved in metaphysics practically from birth, and that is not a joke. I have the ability at this point to separate myself from whatever I'm doing. So even if I'm not feeling well, I can still do healing sessions because again, the energy is not mine. So when I do shields, I can actually just throw them up and not think anything about them. But other people, they do need to center first. They do need to breathe. They need to kind of get themselves, together before they set a shield, because they have to like, okay, now what do I want the intention to be? Like they have to really, process it out and build it up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has to, find their own way of doing things. And some people are, like me, we're just like, just get her done kind of deal. Whereas other people are much more ritualistic, like they need to kind of have a process.
Sure.
So you need to figure out what works for you. And then that's the right way for you.
So checking in, so like perhaps maybe like checking in, like, okay, is my ego and fear kind of running rampant right now? So maybe get that in check and then set the shield.
Yeah, you could do that. Or see, part of it is like, just give it some thought. Like, what do I want this shield to do? Because once you put it on in a positive way, that I want it to do these wonderful things, that automatically eliminates the fear factor.
Great. Thanks for clearing that up. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and as far as my experience, Travis, I work with shields one at a time. So the first shield that I found successful was when I wanted a sound dampener and I wanted an energy dampener when I was walking through IKEA. My husband's like, hey, let's go to IKEA. And I'm like, okay. So I was shielding up in the car and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I don't know about you. I don't like going shopping because I don't like all that energy. It's all frenetic. You got babies crying, you got couples arguing and this, that, the other. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. This was the very first time I walked through, and about 10, 15 minutes in, I'm like, holy crap, this is so easy. I feel so good. So it was a really good test. to make sure that my shields were working. I'm still in the ritualistic process. I don't meditate before I shield, but I do ground, and I do stand at my altar, and I do, clearing the aura, clearing the chakras, sending out my energy, sending out all of the cords, and asking the angels and guides to come protect me, put up my shield. And then, so it takes me personally, probably a couple of minutes to do that. And then, I've set the shield for the day. And then whenever I find myself in a precarious situation, I automatically thicken that shield. So when I came onto Zoom tonight, I thickened my shield because Kai has got some wicked power. When she and I talk, once in a while, like when you're talking to somebody and suddenly they're just going to stand on their heel and they're going to, vent. I'm not saying Kai vents, but what I'm saying is the other day we were talking and I felt this power and I'm like, whoa. And I felt this wave of energy and I'm like, Kai, tell me how you feel. But it was wonderful because to be around somebody as powerful as Kai allows me to understand where my shields stop and start. It's like, oh, okay, well, I felt her shield. It's time to thicken up. It's time to then maybe add another layer, but maybe that intention is different. So for me, I'm still practicing and still trying to figure that out. Does that help? Oh.
The mute button is like, it's my favorite. Yes, it's very helpful. And I appreciate both of your insights so much. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Thank you for being here. Robin, another question?
Yeah. So one of the things I learned from Spirit, I had I guess it was sort of a brick and mortar business. We had an office before this one, the spiritual business. And I was an SAT tutor. And I learned from Spirit that when I tried to build my spiritual business, I basically tried to build it the same way as I had built my mundane business. And that was like a total no-go from Spirit's perspective. They were like, no, all the things you did to attract customers, all the stuff you did, that will never work with a spiritual business. And so as I listened to you, I thought this was very thought-provoking, but I can see my old self like setting shields for all the wrong things, essentially. Like, I want all my customers to love me. I want everybody, to feel like I can serve anybody. Like, I want everybody to feel like they have to buy something, right? I want everybody to feel like they can ask me whatever they want and I will be the ideal service provider, like all of those sort of things. And so I was wondering if you had any suggestions for how to figure out what your intention is, because I learned from Spirit that my knee-jerk intentions are like, I want to make X amount of money and price it at such and such. And I ended up just like taking a lot of conventional business advice and spiritualizing it rather than really like tapping into what's for my highest good and what do I want my business to look like and how does my business fit with my own energy. It was all focused on the client and the offering and not on my experience in the business. So do you have any hints on how to actually set shields for things that are like really for your highest good in business and not just like conventional things? I want to make $1 million this year or whatever you think that
right. See, I mean, and that's the thing, like a lot of people do that, because that's what we're taught to do, right? We're like, focus on the money. But really what we want to do as metaphysicians is focus on the experience, like focus on what we feel like. Because a lot of times, even if you make $1 million and you're not happy, what's the point? So what you want to do with your intentions is you want to see yourself in your business like, oh my gosh, I wake up every morning. I love this business. I can't wait to get there. When the door opens, like the people come in, everybody's smiling, everybody feels good. The energy in the place is like, feels so welcoming. Like it's almost like people could fall asleep in here. It feels so good. So those are the things that you want to concentrate on, like what it feels like on the inside, like, and what is your perfect customer like? Like they come, like, are they the kind of people that come in and say, good morning, I'm so glad you're here? Or are they the people that just come in and they're very quiet, but they're buying everything while they're there, or whatever it is. So think about like who your people are, like attract your tribe basically, right? So whatever product, if you sell candles, for instance, Like the people that you want are the people who just love candles, and they love your candles. They love what's specific about your candles, and they keep coming back for your candles, and they bring their friends, and they just want to hang out and talk to you about candles all day because they love your candles so much. And you love telling them about the thing that you're passionate about. And that is your day. That is your day every day. That's the kind of intention that you want to set. Does that make sense?
Great answer, Kai. Great answer. All right. Does anybody else have any further questions?
Because we still have time. So anything you want to ask, knock yourself out, anything.
All right. Jamie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you. I mostly want to say thank you. It's nice to see some friends from, well, I met you all through Awkwardly Zen, but in any case, I'm just floored at all this information that's been shared, just thinking about starting a business. So I just really appreciate everyone's time tonight and your advice.
Oh,
Good.
you bet, Jamie. You bet. Yeah, it is amazing. Like I said, I wish I had known this years ago. And so going forward, I'll be more intentional about the energy. And I thought I was because, I don't start anything unless I love it. But at the same time, adding that extra layer of protection and promotion is going to go a long, long way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
So, Jamie, what kind of business are you going to start?
Oh, I just am going to start with a blog. It's been percolating in my head for a long time. Not just starting with a blog, but I've decided that that's what I'm going to focus on first.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of other ideas, but I'm already thinking, once the time is right and I meet the right people. For example, like I recently was diagnosed with autism. And so I want to find people who know how to make clothing that is sensory friendly, even for adults, because everything I'm finding is for kids, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But I don't know the first thing about, manufacturing clothing. Just
there's your thing. That's you set your intention that you want to meet people who can educate you on how to make that happen. That could be one of the first things you work on, so that you're putting a general thing out there. It's like, this is what I want to learn more about, and like how to, anything that can help me get closer to what I'm looking for. Set that intention, and then you'll start to meet people who are like, hey, did you hear about the sensory sensitive clothes for adults? Yeah. It's kind of weird how people will start coming to you talking about different things. And it's my sense of it is like, it's one of those things that you're going to meet somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody kind of deal. Yeah. So you set that intention and you'll meet all those people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. And actually, Jamie, you're at the right place, because I help small businesses because I'm a maker myself. One of my business is called Your Inventor Mentor, where I help people create their products to either license them to manufacturers or create their own. So stay in touch with me, because my new Instagram account, CoCreate Magick, as well as my TikTok account and YouTube channel, will all be talking about metaphysics and business development together. So awesome. And I know I can help you find the manufacturers and help you create your lines of clothing and figure out how to go about doing all of that. So I've created probably over 500 individual products in my lifetime and sold them around the world and been featured on major news stations and things like that. So I did something right.
That's amazing. Well, I love it. Thank you all so much. This has been great.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Let me interject just a really quick minute and sell Kai's services for a moment. Kai has a course on building your own shields. I took it. It was the best course ever. And it's the price is a drop in the bucket, but I would invite everybody to go to Kai's website, which I put in the chat, handsonfire.buzz. Go take her course. All right, everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Don't forget to register for our next session, which is session number 3 in metaphysics and your business. And the next session is going to be on using intuition to make better decisions in your business. You'll learn how to build your intuitive muscles. I'm going to share my new process on how to co-create by divine signs. And you'll also learn to conjure energy, again, to protect and promote your business, as well as divination tools to assist you in your spiritual and business growth. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to RSVP your seat. Have a great night.